Welcome to the Turn One Studio podcast. I'm Elliot Custodio, and here we sit with business professionals we know and admire, try to learn a bit more about their businesses and them personally. Today, joining us is Scott Gralla, an acupuncturist. Scott, welcome.
Thank you.
So,
Good to be here. Just let me know when we get to the part where, with every question you ask me, we eat an increasingly hot, spicy wing.
That would be a fun addition. As this podcast morphs, I'll have to find more opportunities to do that.
But
chicken wings, taking shots,
there you go.
All that good stuff is good YouTube material. So, I don't want to make any assumptions. What is an acupuncturist? And what is acupuncture?
So an acupuncturist is basically a healer, a medical professional, just like any other medical professional. But instead of prescribing medications, which may have harmful side effects, we use different modalities. So everybody thinks about needles when they think about acupuncture, which are very effective for a lot of things. But then we can also use other modalities. We use cupping. We use a technique called gua sha, which is a gentle scraping. Some people have been starting to use gua sha for facial rejuvenation, but it's also good for eliminating toxins from the body and also helping with muscle recovery.
Okay.
So so we can use a technique called gua sha. We also use a technique called moxibustion, which is an herbal warming therapy where we place an herb directly on the skin and light it. It's not dangerous. It doesn't burn the patient. It just creates a very soothing, warming sensation. It could be good for pain management. It could be good for what we call tonifying qi and blood, which is increasing a person's energy. Other modalities, we can use Chinese herbs, and then we can also use exercise like qigong exercises or tai chi to help the person become overall well balanced and to initiate the healing process and speed up the healing process without harmful side effects.
Okay, I have a lot of questions now.
Okay.
First off, cupping. I remember in the last Summer Olympics seeing a lot of swimmers with marks. That was the result of like Michael Phelps, right? So what exactly is the process behind cupping and what's its intent?
So cupping is a way to create circulation. So we talk about when a muscle is injured, a good way to heal the muscle is to create microtrauma. So we want to create a little bit of microtrauma so that way the body responds by sending blood to the area, and that blood flow will take away any metabolic waste and toxins that might have built up and bring fresh oxygen and nutrients to the area to help speed up the healing process.
Microtrauma.
Yeah. So basically it's the same concept as if you were working out a muscle. Say you're doing a bicep curl. You're actually creating microtrauma in the muscle, and then the body responds by bringing blood flow into that area. It helps repair the muscle tissue, and muscle tissue gets stronger as a result.
Okay, that makes sense. You tear it down and build it back up.
Exactly, right.
You're using the trauma for good, not evil.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, all right, I could follow that. What are typical symptoms or ways people feel that should prompt them to find someone like you for, to help them feel better?
Well, anybody can benefit from an acupuncture treatment.
Okay.
If you have minor aches and pains, acupuncture is very helpful. If you have nerve damage, acupuncture can be helpful for something like that. It just takes a longer time to heal.
Okay.
But again, we're creating blood flow into the area to try to help regenerate the nerves. The body heals itself with circulation. Everything is constantly dynamic. Everything's flowing. If somebody has arthritis, the worst thing you can do is rest it and not move it. You need to move that muscle, create circulation, bring fluid into the area, synovial fluid, anything to lubricate it and just keep it moving. So basically, but acupuncture can treat a wide variety of symptoms. We can treat headaches, we can treat aches and pains, joint pain, back pain, and then it's good for a bunch of other things as well. So if anybody who's not feeling, even if you have low energy, it might be something where your digestion is maybe not working efficiently, or you're not getting enough sleep, and acupuncture can help with all of those things.
So very cool. So surprisingly, the other day I was having a conversation with a surgeon, and he was talking about, I guess in the OR during an operation, where they have to be sensitive with nerves. He has a special device that he can connect to, if I understood correctly in layman's terms, the beginning of that branch of nerves, sending an electric pulse to then create an action or animate the end branches of that nerve. I'm botching this up altogether. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is to ask, is acupuncture kind of doing the same thing with the needles hitting the nerves? Is that
It's not
a comparison?
It's not really, because when this medicine was developed, they really didn't have, I don't think they had a knowledge of where exactly the nerves ran.
Okay.
So they went by the philosophy of you have your body's chi, the body's energy is flowing through these various meridians. And that sort of correlates to the blood vessels and also the nervous system and even the lymphatic system, where the body's circulating certain body fluids, and body fluids are also a form of energy.
Okay.
It's just a more condensed form of energy. So there's Western research. Some of it maybe says that the acupuncture needles are affecting some of the nerve fibers. And I'm not going to get into, the weeds of how that works.
Sure.
But yeah, so it can deaden they say some of the research says that it deadens some of the nerve receptors so that you're not feeling the pain anymore. I don't necessarily believe in that.
Okay.
Just because that seems like it's more of a palliative placebo effect.
Right, a Band-Aid of sorts.
Yeah, a Band-Aid more than a healing process.
Okay. So obviously this is Eastern medicine. Where did this come from?
Well, it came from China thousands of years ago.
Okay.
But it's moved to other areas. There's Korean acupuncture. There's Japanese acupuncture, which I'm tending to lean towards Japanese acupuncture a little bit more. I find it a little bit more effective for my patients. And then France has their own sort of version of acupuncture as well.
Okay.
Vietnam. So generally East Asian countries, but it's now branched into other areas.
Okay, so given it's thousands of years old, I can understand how they may not have understood the framework of the nerve network as much as they understood, well, if I do this part of the body's affected in this way.
Right, and it's interesting how they kind of came to certain conclusions without the use of our medical technology and our scanning devices.
Right, no x-rays.
Yeah, and they were able to figure out a connection between the heart and the kidneys, and without any...
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. So if you're leaning more towards Japanese, you have been typically doing Chinese.
Yeah, so what my training is from a TCM school. So TCM means traditional Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the techniques that we learned about there are traditional Chinese techniques. We were able to dip our toes a little bit in Japanese acupuncture there, even though it wasn't a focus. And as I've progressed through being a professional now, I'm kind of sort of leaning towards that area. I'm doing a little bit more research into how that works.
How come? What are you seeing that's different that seems more favorable?
It just seems that there's just a way to... So part of our diagnosis is to look at the tongue and the pulse.
Okay.
So when we're looking at the pulse, so in Western medicine, you put two fingers on the radial pulse. You're pretty much looking at the rate, maybe feeling for some quality of the pulse, some qualitative feeling of the
strength
pulse.
and cadence, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. So when we do the pulse in Chinese medicine, we actually use three fingers on each wrist, both wrists. So generally they take the pulse on just the left side, that's where the heart is. But we take three pulse positions on each side, and each pulse position represents a different channel or organ. So each organ connects to a different channel, or several organs may connect to several channels. So in Japanese acupuncture, it's heavily reliant on feeling the pulse, feeling where the excess and deficiencies are in each organ. And then you can use certain points to either tonify or strengthen one of the channels if it doesn't have enough energy in it, or reduce if it has too much energy. And then after the treatment, you can actually feel the pulse and see if there's been a change. And a lot of times there is actually a change in the pulse, which is pretty amazing, and the person starts to feel better.
So if you're adjusting for too much or too little, I guess balance would be a good word to describe the goals.
Yeah, and that's the general, you want to balance the body's yin and yang.
Okay.
Or in Japanese acupuncture, they go by the theory of yin and yang, and then they also go by what's called the 5-element theory, which the body connects to itself and to nature through 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And each of these elements also connects to a different organ and meridian.
Interesting. Okay. I have to ask, how did you get started in this? What gave you the inspiration to follow this career path?
So I worked in a corporate job in the early 2000s, and I wasn't happy there, and I wanted to get into some sort of healthcare. And I was looking at different programs. I was looking at physical therapy and maybe massage therapy. Mm-hmm. So I had gotten a bulletin from the school in Syosset, New York College, for their massage therapy program, but I saw this acupuncture program, and I had been involved in martial arts. Has always been a big part of my life. Mm-hmm. The Karate Kid movies were a huge influence on me when I was a kid, Mr. Miyagi. So so I saw like this is all this East Asian philosophy. Plus, it's not only medical. It's it's nutrition. It's physical activity. It's you also using needles and herbs, and it just seemed like it was just this holistic sort of healing process that correlated with everything that I already believed in. So I took a few classes while I was still working full time at this corporate job, and I fell in love with it. So I quit that job and went to school full time for acupuncture.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming you're enjoying it.
I love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can see the passion.
I go to work happy every day, and it's helping people, so I feel like I'm putting something good in the universe.
Fantastic, fantastic. When someone visits you and you do a treatment or perhaps a series of treatments, and I know this is not a black and white answer because I'm sure it's dependent on the patient, but generally what's recommended for them to do afterwards to not have to come back? Like, how do you continue to stay in balance and do the right thing for your body?
So that's a good question. Well, nutrition is a big part of that.
Okay.
But I also, I'm very much into fitness. It's also been a huge part of my life. And I have this specialization in corrective exercise.
Okay.
And I wholeheartedly believe that people need to go home and do some homework. Especially, like, for example, somebody who sits at a desk all day and they're sitting and they're typing away.
I hear that a lot, that sedentary lifestyle is no good.
Or they're looking at their phones all the time. You're always in this sort of hunched over, internally rotated position with your anterior musculature is all contracted. Everything in the back is overstretched and not as functional as the front. So I can do acupuncture all day, every day for you for that. But unless you're strengthening the posterior musculature and bringing your posture back into balance, the pain is most likely going to come back. So I try to give people homework. Do they always comply? No, but nobody likes to do, people are looking for the magic button.
I have a question, and this is more of a fitness question, because I think most of us struggle with this in general. This is an overgeneralization, but I feel like in today's environment, if you didn't know smoking's bad for you, it's like, where have you been? How did you not know that? Right? Yeah. And I feel like the same sort of thing applies to fitness or just being somewhat active or anything but inactive. You should know that you should be active, but we all struggle with that, like being motivated to do so. What do you think you'd recommend as far as getting someone started on their fitness journey in a way where it has a high probability of sticking?
That's an excellent question. I think that when people see results, that's when they get motivated to do more. Mm-hmm. I think there's a feeling of hopelessness when somebody's working out, and they're not seeing any change.
Right, and results take time.
And I think a lot of people give up early on that. Okay. Knowing that you have to be patient with the process. And in our society now, people just don't have patience for anything. Everybody wants the quick fix. Yeah. Which is why people are using Ozempic and things like that to sort of accelerate that process. But again, there's no magic pill. And Ozempic, there have been studies where people have lost a ton of muscle mass, which is counterproductive to the whole.
Right. It's still taking numbers off the scale, but in the wrong way.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's kind of a generalization. I think everybody has their own motivations or demotivations. Some people say they don't have the time, or they're not getting the results that they want, or so it depends on the person. I think it's a case by case thing, but just be there, be encouraging, and I think that it's hard to add something into your life that you're not used to. So I think that I try to encourage people to, well, you're going to do this anyway. You're going to work, you're driving to the park a little bit further back in the parking lot, take the stairs, do something like that, just to burn a few extra calories and at least start the process.
I think that's a fantastic idea. It's good advice. What do you like to do for fun?
I'm a huge Knick fan.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, huge Knick fan. Even, now that they're good, I see that there's a lot of huge Knick fans so all of a sudden. But I suffered through a lot of bad decades. Uh-huh. I enjoy fitness. Contrary to that, I also enjoy cooking outside, like a lot of barbecue. So yin and yang balance.
Eating or doing the cooking?
I like doing the cooking.
Oh, good for you. I enjoy barbecuing too. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah. This may be similar to a question I asked you already, but when someone's not feeling right, how should they know to go to you versus a chiropractor, the primary care physician, emergency, urgent care, etc.? Well, what are some of the best things to go to you for?
So minor aches and pains. Even if people are in a lot of pain, they can still come see me, especially if it's a chronic case. If it's obviously if somebody's broken their arm, go to the emergency room. If you're having a heart attack, don't come. I'm not going to stick needles in you. Although in theory I could, but I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just if you're just not feeling, even if you are feeling well, and you just want a little boost of energy, or you're not able to sleep, anybody can benefit from an acupuncture treatment.
Okay.
So unless you have some kind of extreme urgent trauma, then you can come to an acupuncturist.
Very cool. So acupuncture, we can come to you for guidance with nutrition.
Yeah, so I'm actually also a certified nutrition coach through the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Oh.
So I try to help with nutrition as well.
I did not know that. Can we go to you for fitness?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do personal training?
So right now I don't have the space to do personal training,
Okay.
but I can give advice on how to bring exercise into your life and what corrective exercises to do to help improve your posture, so that you can do sort of your own work instead of coming to see me. You can come to see me every week or twice a week, but in those in between times, you can also do something for yourself.
Sure.
Stretch certain muscles that are tight or strengthen muscles that are.
So define corrective. What's the difference between me going to someone like you and someone who's a personal trainer at LA Fitness?
So I'm also a personal trainer, so I can give you, but you can do a full, complete workout and get a good workout just doing corrective exercises as well.
Okay. So what's an example of a corrective exercise?
So so something like, say, a band pull apart. So that's going to help strengthen the rotator cuff and give the shoulder more stability. It also strengthens some of the rear back musculature.
With a resistance band.
The middle, right, with a resistance band. So strengthening the middle and the lower traps. So most people, especially if see how my shoulders just went up like this?
Yeah.
So their upper traps are tight and the lower and middle traps are weak. So doing exercises to strengthen those muscles and help balance out the trapezius muscle will go a long way in helping shoulder pain. And a lot of people have instability of the scapula. So even if they're doing...
What's a scapula?
Oh, the scapula is the shoulder blade.
Oh, okay.
So it's that triangular muscle in the back.
Okay.
That kind of wingy muscle back there.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people have instability, especially if they're hunched over a desk all day, because certain muscles in the front are pulling on that bone and bringing it out of alignment. And if, all these muscles and bone structures work in tandem. So if that bone is not in the right place and functioning the way it should be, people are going to experience shoulder pain, and a lot of times that shoulder pain is going to come in the front of the shoulder.
Okay.
So you wouldn't think that, okay, I have pain here, where's it coming from? It's coming from here. Well, maybe not. It might be coming from the back.
Yeah.
So we do exercises to strengthen those muscles to help balance out the shoulder.
That makes sense. If perhaps a younger individual, someone just wanting to change their career path, we're interested in following the direction of acupuncture, is it something you'd recommend? And are there pieces of advice you would give?
I would recommend it. I would not recommend taking out a student loan if you want to.
That's good advice.
Because, but yeah, it's definitely a great career path.
Okay. Thanks for coming by. This is wonderful.
Thank you.